Meantime, ULM may play a role in Louisiana lawmakers' proposed changes to the cannabis industry. Kenya Ross is here with our update tonight. Kenya?
Yes, Jennifer, House Bill 952 that's now been sent to the governor contains some amendments that are meant to tighten up some of the rules around hemp-based products that are for sale.
Some of the amendments to the bill tighten the milligram dosages that you can buy. It raises the age to 21 to be able to consume those products. It takes them out of gas stations. It does several other things for protection.
State Representative Michael Eccles says the proposed restrictions are necessary because they were getting complaints of children having access to hemp products in convenience stores.
You know, them being in convenience stores make them beyond accessible. So raising the age to 21, reducing the dosage size, and putting in some of these other restrictions helped with both addiction advocates as well as some of the other challenges we've seen with youth getting access to these products.
Eccles says he worked with the original author of the bill, State Representative Dustin Miller, to add ULM as the preferred testing laboratory in the state for completing certificates of analysis of consumable hemp products.
Over the last number of years, ULM has been working on or towards hemp-based research and other therapeutics for both hemp, marijuana, and other drugs that are out there for, pharmacy and the other things that they do. And this was just the next logical step to ensure that as this market was trying to, whether it was growing or just trying to protect consumers, ensure that there was a valid third party that could be trusted to do any testing for products.
And Eccles says within the next 18 days, the governor will either sign, veto, or allow the bill to become a law without his signature.